talked about a great study that was done to do with attraction to the partner when you were got together on the pill versus off the pill, etc., etc.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so two things. I know quite a lot of women who've abandoned hormonal birth control and have ended up doing whatever kind of more like wellness maximizing means of fertility. You can also do things like tracking making your exercise regime gel with your menstrual cycle and things like that. Yeah, so there's a whole wealth of like technology enabled reproductive wellness available, which is good. I have nothing against it. I also know so many women who've got pregnant from doing that accidentally.
What, from their exercise routine?
No, got pregnant. It doesn't work that well, like realistically.
Natural cycles is thermometer under the tongue, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's like a more sophisticated version of just tracking that Catholics have done forever. But like, there's quite a good chance.
Who knew it was just Catholic technology all over again? Okay, so prudishness to licentiousness, and you think that we're sort of tumbling just over the top of that super sex positive into what's coming next?
I think that I think the reason my book did unexpectedly well is because, yes, we're at that tipping point where everyone's been privately, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have been privately thinking this is weird, and then someone starts saying it, and you're like, yeah, this is weird. I think that's probably the point that we're at. The only thing is, though, I don't know if it's going to be as radical a period of prudishness as we've seen historically, because we've got the pill, one, right? So that's like a completely different material situation. And two, because we've got the internet, we've got porn. Like, is that really going to be... My suspicion is probably what we'll see elites reacting against the licentious period. We'll see, the goop class, but also the male equivalent. You know this, that impulse control is such an important element of living in our kind of technological landscape. Like, if you can't put down your phone, you're never going to do well professionally. Do anything. Yeah. So the people who are best able to resist all of the various temptations, including sexual temptations of our new material conditions, are the people who are most likely to find themselves in the elites.
Tell you what's interesting, conscientiousness is moderately heritable, like all psychological dispositions, and yet what you're saying here is that the people who are going to best be able to control their reproduction are the people who are high in conscientiousness, which means that you're going to select for people low in conscientiousness who are going to be having more kids on average.
Yes.
This is the future. Talking about the decline of birth rates. All of the people who are anti-natalist or anti-children or family creation, but also from the left, need to read one book on behavioral genetics to realize that if you want your particular philosophical ideology, political ideology to keep going, in the space of 100 years, it's just going to be Ashkenazi Jews and Mormons and you guys are going to be, because again, political ideology is like 60% heritable.
I agree with you. And people have been worrying about this for like 150 years. It's just that like, you're familiar with Francis Galton, who's the father of eugenics. He was, like, as far as I am aware, I mean, this was before they even knew what a gene was. He was the first person to sit down and draw up family trees and realize that what he called genius was heritable. And
wasn't it hereditary genius? Was that not his first thing?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And so particular families were particularly likely to generate these, prominent figures. And obviously the sort of methodology he was using now seems really archaic, and how do you measure genius or whatever. But he was basically right. He was basically recognized that all of these things were just, basically every psychological trait is heritable to some extent. And I mean, that's where the thing that people forget about the eugenics movement is that it was progressive. It was like self-consciously progressive. That's how people understood themselves. And it was often anti-religious. It was anti-conservative. It was seen as like this brave new scientific frontier that so many people were into. Like I've been reading about this at the moment for a piece I'm writing, and the popularity of eugenics in the early 20th century is like mind-boggling and has mostly been memory hold.